Hello and welcome to the Injustice YouTube channel where we discuss everything from unsolved crime to cases which have been solved but the sentence doesn't fit the crime. Grab a cuppa and let's get started. If you looked into a case where two 16-year-old girls were raped and strangled, one of whom was strangled so severely that she had to have neck surgery, and the doctor said that if she'd been strangled for another 30 seconds, she would be dead, what kind of justice would you expect? Personally, I would think some very heavy prison time, along with being put on the sex offenders register for life. Well, in the case we are going to discuss today, the perpetrator pretty much got off scot-free. In today's video, we will be discussing the injustice of the victims of Jesse Mack Butler. Firstly, we'll be discussing the body cam footage from the arrest of Butler, which I will include a link in the bio so you can go and watch the video yourself. I wasn't able to add it into this video for some reason. So yeah, there'll be a link there so you can go and have a look at it. But once you hear all the details of the case, the victim impact statements and everything else, you'll understand why certain points of this video just infuriated me so much. So the first thing that the mother says as her son is about to get arrested is, "We're ready to tell our side of the story." Which, I mean, it's just crazy. You're ready to tell your side of the story when there's been opportunities for you to stop your son from doing what he did. There's no side to be told. Your son recorded himself strangling a girl. What side of the story do you have to tell? There's clear evidence that your son is a sexual predator, a rapist, and is abusive. You have no story to tell other than the truth and to help these victims get the justice they deserve. Then, as the police officers are putting handcuffs on her son, she says, "You have to put him in handcuffs?" Again, kind of crazy to think that somebody would question that. Your son is under arrest for various crimes, including sexual assault, battery, domestic violence style crimes, sodomy. Why would you not be put in handcuffs? You should be treated like any other perpetrator of a crime. And then thirdly, as the police officers are leading her son in handcuffs to the police patrol car, she says, "Awful experience for a child." What is an awful experience for a child is going through months of abuse at the hands of your son, being left with a neck wound so bad that you have to have surgery, being bruised multiple times, being sexually assaulted multiple times, being sexually assaulted so badly that you bleed multiple times. That is what a poor or awful experience for a child would be. Or, for example, all of this stuff happens to you, you go to the police, you expect them to get the justice that you deserve for you so you can carry on trying to get on with life, you can carry on trying to heal from the trauma you've been through, and then for that justice system to turn around and give no prison time to the perpetrators. That is an awful experience for two 16-year-old girls who were the victim of your son and his abusive nature. Okay, now we're going to go through the two arrest warrants for the two different victims of Butler, and then also other court documents that I've found. Okay, let's go through the arrest warrant affidavit. I will be including screen grabs from the affidavit itself, but I will also be reading directly from it. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm mainly just focusing on the crimes within it, and then just some more information here and there. So it says, on September 12, 2024, at approximately 13:22 hours, Stillwater Public Schools, Stillwater Police Resource Officer Paul Blankenship took a report from a student concerning allegations of domestic assault and battery by strangulation, sexual battery, rape by instrumentation, sodomy, attempted first-degree rape, and kidnapping. The victim, a juvenile female identified as blank, was in a dating relationship with the suspect, Jesse Mack Butler. Blank reported the romantic relationship with Butler began in late January 2024 and ended in early March 2024. During their relationship, Blank reported Butler often physically and sexually assaulted her. Blank provided a written statement to SRO Blankenship concerning an incident that occurred in which Butler sexually battered her and attempted to rape her inside his vehicle, outside Marble Slab Creamery, 229 South Knobloch. She also detailed an incident that occurred inside her vehicle in the Hampton Inn and Suites parking lot. Following the initial report, I was assigned as the investigator to follow up on the case. So even just the crimes covered in this first paragraph are absolutely horrific, and I still do not understand how this person is not serving any jail time, is having really very minor consequences for his actions, and that's only covering one of the cases. There's more paragraphs to come, so I'm sure I'm going to get more and more angry as I read this. Okay, so carrying on. On September 20th, 2024, Blank participated in a forensic interview at the Saville Center in Stillwater, Oklahoma. During the forensic interview, Blank disclosed the following events. February 2nd, 2024. Butler parked his vehicle on the north side of Marble Slab Creamery. Following an OSU home wrestling duel they attended together, instead of getting ice cream, which is what he initially told Blank they were going to do, he forcibly removed her clothing, aggressively pinned her down, sat on top of her, touched her breasts, bit and sucked on her chest, and inserted his fingers into her vagina against her will. Butler also attempted to have sexual intercourse with her in his vehicle. Blank reported she yelled and told him no repeatedly and tried to push him off of her, but was unable to overpower him. Blank reported Butler told her he was sorry for what he was about to do, but he had to do it. Blank recalled hyperventilating because Butler intended to have sexual intercourse with her and she did not want to. Before Butler could put his penis inside her, an unidentified woman walked up to the vehicle and interrupted him. Blank believed the woman heard her yelling, crying, and saying no from outside the vehicle. Blank detailed how this event derailed his plan to have sex with her. After this occurred, Butler drove away from the area, told Blank to stay down, and warned her if the police came that they would both be in trouble. Butler returned to his home where Blank's vehicle was located. Once there, they remained in Butler's pickup where he tried again to have sexual intercourse with Blank. Blank told Butler she needed to get home, but Butler pulled her on top of him and told her, "You're not going until I'm finished." Butler moved Blank's body back and forth on top of him with their clothing on. Butler told Blank, "I want to have sex with you," but she refused and she said she did not want to. Blank was able to get out of Butler's vehicle and get into her own vehicle to leave. Butler got into Blank's vehicle with her and continued to try to get her to have sexual intercourse with him. Blank reported Butler told her, "I want to be inside of you. I want you." Blank described Butler putting his hands all over her body, specifically between her legs, on her chest, and he grabbed her by the neck. Blank stated Butler also often pulled her hair during these incidents. Blank reported Butler did eventually get out of her vehicle and she was able to go home. I mean, how horrific is this? She's managed to escape the first attempt at being raped, and he's drove back to his house where she probably feels like she might be safe because there could be people in the house, so he may not try and rape her whilst there's people in the house. Then she manages to get out of his car and go to her own car where she probably again would feel some sense of security because it's her vehicle. And then he follows her to that car and carries on being aggressive and trying to force her to have sex. It's absolutely insane that the charges against this case were what they are, and that, again, there's no jail time. Okay, so let's carry on with the arrest affidavit. So, early February 2024, Butler and Blank were parked outside Planet Fitness inside her vehicle. Butler exposed his penis to her and told her to perform oral sex on him. Blank refused by saying no and that she wanted to go home. Butler then forced Blank's head and mouth onto his penis by grabbing the back of her head and her hair and forcing her down toward his penis. Blank began crying when he did this. While this was occurring, Butler's mother called. Butler told Blank to be quiet and not say anything or he would hurt her. Following the phone call, Blank stated she complied with Butler out of fear of what he would do to her if she didn't. Blank performed oral sex on Butler until he told her to stop and ejaculated. After this occurred, Butler exited her vehicle and they both left the parking lot. The 14th of February 2024, Butler and Blank were at Butler's family home, 2309 East Will Rogers Drive, in an upstairs movie room, when Butler pinned Blank down on the couch by sitting on top of her. He forcibly removed her clothing despite her objection. He touched her body, including her breasts and vagina, and she cried and told him to stop. This incident ended as Butler was attempting to take his underwear off to try and have sexual intercourse with her. Blank knew Butler intended to have sex with her because he made statements like, "I want to be inside of you," and pushed his penis into her groin area. Butler's mother came to the door and inquired if everything was okay. Blank believed this was because she heard Blank crying and saying no. After this occurred, Butler and Blank left Butler's residence to take her home. When Butler took Blank home, he parked in the vicinity of Blank's home, but he refused to take her to her house. Butler forced Blank to remain in his vehicle with him for a period of approximately 2 hours and told her she could not leave until she did what he wanted her to do. Given Butler's previous aggressive behavior with her and his ability to overpower her, Blank was scared to try to exit the vehicle. Inside the vehicle, Butler grabbed Blank's breasts and rubbed her between her legs. He attempted to pull her on top of him, but she refused. He grabbed her hand and forced it onto his groin area, moving her hand back and forth. Blank was able to exit Butler's vehicle after threatening to call her mother if he did not let her go. Butler also exited and followed Blank into her residence, where he continued with unwanted sexual advances. Blank reported Butler eventually left her residence between 01:30 hours and 02:30 hours after receiving a text from his sister to come home. So now we're moving on from not only sexual assault, trying to rape this girl, numerous sexual assaults at that, and numerous attempts to rape her, to now kidnapping the girl and forcing her to stay in the car for 2 hours. It gets worse and worse and worse the more we read, and the more angry I'm getting. I don't know about anybody else, but it's really flabbergasting that the case ended the way it did. Okay, moving to the bottom of page 2. February 2024. Blank and Butler were parked in her vehicle at 717 East Hall of Fame, the Hampton Inn and Suites parking lot. Behind Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, 317 North Perkins Road. Butler instructed Blank to get in the back seat with one of the seats laid down. He removed her pants and underwear against her will. Blank verbalized she did not want him to touch her, but he put his fingers inside her vagina. Blank told Butler to stop and that he was hurting her badly. Blank reported Butler told her he was not going to stop until he got 3 fingers inside her, which he did. Blank moved around and tried to get him to stop, but he refused and she was scared of him and could not overpower him. When Blank got home afterwards and went to the bathroom, she was bleeding from her vagina. Honestly, this is just so sickening. Like, a 16-year-old girl is going through this. It's absolutely horrific. And this guy will just not stop trying. February 2024. Blank reported multiple incidents where Butler fingered her against her will while in their vehicle in the Brahms parking lot. On one occasion, Blank's sibling was with them and Butler sent the sibling inside with his debit card to get something to eat so he could touch Blank. She reportedly bled from her vagina on this occasion also. On another occasion that Butler forcibly digitally penetrated her, Blank Blank's battery to her vehicle died and her father had to come and jump-start it afterwards. On or about February 29, 2024, Blank reported she was strangled to the point of unconsciousness by Jesse Butler. This occurred inside her vehicle in the Walmart parking lot at 111 North Perkins Road. Blank reported Butler strangled her after she would not participate in sexual acts with him. Prior to strangling her, Butler touched her breasts and other parts of her body under and over her clothing. He pinned her down inside her vehicle and straddled her. With one hand on her neck and one hand pinning her hands down over her head, Blank was scared and crying. She told Butler no, but he did not listen. Blank reported she was hyperventilating and then recalled her vision being blurry and she was dizzy. She reported her head immediately hurt and she was confused about what occurred. She was scared of Butler she was scared of Butler, but when she regained consciousness, Butler was laughing at her. Following this incident, Blank reported she had a handprint and injury on her neck. To have a handprint on her neck, he must have been pressing so hard. And as well, since she was knocked out unconscious, obviously he was holding on tight to her neck. You cannot tell me that his only intention was to rape this girl. To me, it's escalating very quickly over a few days. Or most of these are through the span of 1 month. And he's escalating with more and more violence each and every incident. In addition to these specific occasions, Blank reported Jesse Butler would regularly slap her legs or squeeze her legs very hard. She reported it would hurt and it resulted in a lot of bruises on her legs from Butler. Blank had taken a few photographs of the bruises on her legs and on her neck with her phone. However, Butler regularly went through her phone, so she was afraid to document them in that manner. Following the forensic interview, Blank was seen by Brandy Watts, APRN FNPBC-SANE at the Saville Centre. During the examination, Blank provided Watts with a similar account of the incidents detailed in the forensic interview. She also reported to Watts that she had urinated on herself when Butler strangled her. Since the incident, Blank has experienced times of substantial swelling, as observed by Watts through photographs provided by Blank's parent, and discomfort in her neck, which she may not have experienced absent the strangulation. Through her examination, Watts found Blank had been a victim of sexual and physical abuse. In the incidents involving Blank, Jesse Butler demonstrated escalating physical and sexual violence as their relationship progressed over the term of approximately 2 months. This is over the span of only 2 months, so the escalation is so extreme, and he's facing no consequences for his actions at all. So it would not surprise me if in the future we hear of another case involving Butler where he's manipulated another poor innocent victim and sexually assaulted them, raped them numerous times, probably abused them physically, mentally, sexually, emotionally. And honestly, it would not surprise me if he ends up murdering one of these girls because, again, facing no consequences for his actions, how's he even going to learn from this? Additionally, the Stillwater Police Department took another report of incidents reported by a second female juvenile, in which Jesse Butler utilized threat, fear, intimidation, and physical force to make her perform sexual acts and participate in sexual intercourse with him. This relationship began after Blank and Butler ended their dating relationship in March 2024. In that investigation, Butler employed similar strategies to elicit cooperation from the victim, including strangling her until unconsciousness for refusing to have sexual intercourse with him. Based upon his birth date, Jesse Mack Butler was 17 years old at the time the crimes were committed. The aforementioned offenses occurred in Payne County, Oklahoma. Wherefore, based on the above information, your affidavit prays the Honourable Court find that probable cause exists to issue an arrest warrant for Jesse Mack Butler on the following charges. So this is what he was charged on. Number 1, domestic assault and battery, a misdemeanor offence. Number 2, domestic abuse by strangulation, a felony offence. Number 3, sexual battery, a felony offence. Number 4, rape by instrumentation, a felony offence. Number 5, sodomy, a felony offence. Number 6, attempted first-degree rape, a felony offence. And number 7, kidnapping, a felony offence. Okay, now let's go over the second arrest warrant affidavit. On September 12, 2024, at approximately 13:22 hours, Stillwater High School School Resource Officer Paul Blankenship took a report from a student concerning allegations of domestic assault and battery by strangulation. The victim, a juvenile female identified as Blank, was in a dating relationship with the suspect, Jesse Mack Butler. Blank reported the romantic relationship with Butler began in late March 2024 and ended in September 2024. So this is the second victim, which we heard of in the end of the first arrest affidavit. During their relationship, Blank reported Butler was often physically and mentally abusive and had sexually assaulted her on numerous occasions. Following the initial report, I was assigned as the investigator to follow up on the case. During a forensic interview on September 25th, 2024, Blank detailed the first incident of physical abuse by Jesse Butler. This occurred on April 2022, 2024. Sorry, nope. This occurred on April 22nd, 2024, at Sonic in Stillwater. On this occasion, Jesse Butler reportedly attempted to pull her pants down and touch her as they sat on the bed of his pickup truck at the drive-in restaurant. She told Butler no, but he continued to grab and slap her buttocks and touch her breasts. Butler became angry, grabbed her arm, spun her around, and threw her on the ground. This action left scratches on her arm, which Butler laughed at. The incident demonstrated to Blank that Butler would use physical force on her if she did not comply with his sexual demands. Already we're seeing an escalation again in his behavior. And this is just like very soon into a new relationship that this is happening. Blank reported she engaged in sexual intercourse with Jesse Butler throughout the term of their relationship and did so to prevent physical aggression from him. When Blank told Butler he was hurting her, he did not care and would not stop. Because of his aggressiveness, she was scared to tell him to stop. She expressed she was scared not to do what he wanted because of how physically violent he had been with her. Blank reported Butler had left bruises on her hips from squeezing her so tightly. Blank reported the intercourse was extremely aggressive, but she reported she quickly stopped fighting it because Butler would overpower her and hurt her to get his way. Blank explained she learned what to do and not to avoid being hurt by Butler. According to Blank, Butler would pin her down and she was physically unable to get him off her. Blank stated this would often lead to her hyperventilating, which Butler thought was funny. Blank described an occasion in July 2024 in which she house sat for a family friend. The dates she stayed at the residence were July 27, 2024 through August 3, 2024. The residence was located at 3402 South Canopy Lane in Stillwater and in the jurisdiction of the Payne County Sheriff's Office. While she was there, Jesse Butler came to the house. Butler expressed a desire to have sexual intercourse with her at the house. Blank reported she did not want to do anything at the house. Butler became angry, came up behind her, put his arms around her neck and strangled to unconsciousness. She could not breathe, scratched at his arms, and tried to get away, but could not free herself. Blank woke up on the floor of the living room after losing consciousness. Blank reported there were red marks across her neck after Butler strangled her. Approximately 15 minutes after strangling her, Butler initiated sexual intercourse with her. Butler had sexual intercourse 3 or 4 times on this date. Blank complied out of fear he would strangle her again or hurt her. Blank reported Butler strangled her on a second occasion during that week. She complied with him out of fear of him. Blank stated Butler told her he wanted to strangle her so he could film it on his phone. Butler got on top of her Butler got on top of Blank to watch her pass out. He set up his phone to record it so he could watch it later. Blank lost consciousness on this occasion as well. During this investigation, I obtained a search warrant for the cellular device belonging to Jesse Butler. The cell phone was downloaded to review the contents of the phone. I located a video with a date and timestamp of 08/01/2024 at 20:28 hours in which Jesse Butler can be seen strangling Blank until unconsciousness. This was the time frame Blank reported this occurred, and it appeared to have occurred in the manner she reported. Hold on. There's video evidence of him strangling one of his victims, and he still is not facing any jail time. I do not understand how the judicial system works in this state for them not to think that that's like worthy of jail time, regardless of how old he is. He's almost of adult age, where if this happened at the age of 18, I would imagine he would be facing 78 years in prison, but he's not because of his age at the time of the crime. It's obscene. And to strangle somebody to the point of unconsciousness and then to strangle them again just so you can record it, I just don't understand at all. She's lucky to be alive, she really is. According to Blank, Butler often gave her hickeys and bit her breasts, which both left marks. Blank provided a photograph of a hickey during the investigation. The hickey appeared to be on the left side of her neck. It was red-purple in colour. Blank reported Butler gave her the hickey during the week she house sat at 3402 South Canopy Lane. Blank reported Butler wanted to have sexual intercourse every day. She described feeling coerced to comply to avoid being hurt. In addition to the sexual intercourse, Blank reported Butler forced her to perform oral sex on him. He forcibly grabbed her head and pushed her down onto his penis. Once his penis was in her mouth, he forcibly moved her head up and down in a way that she had no control over her own head. Blank reported Butler maintained her mouth on his penis until he ejaculated and forced her to swallow his semen. Blank stated because of his violent aggression toward her, she did not attempt to fight him. Blank did not provide specific dates or locations for these occasions. As she stated, it was a frequent and regular occurrence throughout their 6-month relationship from March to September 2024. In addition to the forced oral sex, Blank reported Butler also aggressively digitally penetrated her. One specific occasion she reported was after golfing at the Stillwater Country Club. She reported Butler fingered her so aggressively it caused her to bleed. Blank stated, no matter what I told him, it did not change his mind. She described holding her skirt, trying to prevent him from accessing her vagina. Butler forcibly pulled her skirt down and put his fingers inside her vagina. Blank described Butler as jamming his fingers inside her. She reported she began to bleed, which Butler verbally shamed her for. Blank stated this incident occurred at the Walmart parking lot on 4545 West 6th Avenue in August 2024. She reported there were multiple other occasions where Butler digitally penetrated her to the point that she bled. During this investigation, the Payne County Sheriff's Office gave permission for the Stillwater Police Department to investigate the incident which occurred in Payne County, due to the other crimes occurring within the jurisdiction of the Stillwater Police Department. This is also the second investigation the Stillwater Police Department has on Jesse Butler in 2024 concerning similar crimes of this nature. The other victim is a female juvenile whom Butler was in a romantic relationship. Prior to Blank, he was reported by that victim to have also strangled her, sexually assaulted her, and physically assaulted her. A separate arrest affidavit was submitted on that case. Okay, so now we've got the charges for this affidavit, which there's 5 charges. Number 1, domestic assault and battery by strangulation, a felony offence. Number 2, domestic assault and battery, a misdemeanour offence. Number 3, sexual battery, a felony offence. Number 4, rape by instrumentation, a felony offence. And number 5, sodomy, a felony offence. Okay, so just to catch everybody up, from the first arrest affidavit, we have 7 offences, 6 of which were felony, 1 was a misdemeanour offence. The second affidavit has 5 offences, 1 of which is a misdemeanour and 4 of which are felony charges. So 12 different crimes, really, that he's been charged with, and he's faced no jail time. Just let that sink in. 0 jail time. Okay, so on the 5th of May 2025, Jesse Mack Butler's lawyer filed a motion to certify him as a youthful offender in the case basically that's been drawn against him. Okay, let's go through the court record of the charges now. So the record shows 11 counts. Count 1, attempted rape in the first degree, which is a felony. Count 2, rape by instrumentation, a felony. Count 3, sexual battery, a felony. Count 4, forcible oral sodomy, a felony. Count 5, attempted rape in the first degree, a felony. Count 6, rape by instrumentation, a felony. Count 7, domestic violence and battery by strangulation, a felony. Count 8, domestic assault and battery by strangulation, a felony. Count 9, rape by instrumentation, a felony. Count 10, domestic assault and battery, a misdemeanour. And count 11, violation of protective order, a misdemeanour. Okay, now we're going to go through the court document with the charges against Jesse Mack Butler. I'm not going to read all of the sections breaking down each crime for each count, just because we've already gone through the arrest affidavits, but I will give the count, whether it's a felony or a misdemeanour, and what it's punishable by. So, count 1 is attempted rape in the first degree, which is a felony, and it is punishable by incarceration for a term not exceeding 1/2 the longest term of imprisonment for the offence attempted. Rape in the first degree is punishable by imprisonment for not less than 5 years to life without parole. 2. Rape by instrumentation, a felony. This crime is punishable by imprisonment for not less than 5 years to life without parole. Count 3, sexual battery, a felony. This crime is punishable by imprisonment for up to 10 years. Count 4, forcible oral sodomy, a felony. This crime is punishable by imprisonment for up to 20 years. Count 5, attempted rape in the first degree, a felony. Punishable by incarceration for a term not exceeding 1/2 the longest term of imprisonment for the offence attempted. Rape in the first degree is punishable by imprisonment for not less than 5 years to life without parole. Count 6, rape by instrumentation, a felony. This crime is punishable by imprisonment for not less than 5 years to life without parole. Count 7, domestic assault and battery by strangulation, a felony. This crime is punishable by not less than 1 year nor more than 3 years, a fine of $3,000 and or both. Count 8, domestic assault and battery by strangulation, a felony. This crime is punishable by not less than 1 year nor more than 3 years, a fine of $3,000 and or both. Count 9, rape by instrumentation, a felony. This crime is punishable by imprisonment for not less than 5 years to life without parole. Count 10, domestic assault and battery, a misdemeanour. This crime is punishable by up to 1 year, a fine of $5,000 and or both such fine and imprisonment. Count 10, violation of protective order, misdemeanour. This crime is punishable by imprisonment in the county jail up to 1 year or by a fine of $1,000 or both. Okay, so adding up the punishments for all of these crimes, excluding the ones which say up to a certain amount, because because they don't specify what the minimum would be. That's the minimum of 18 years in prison and a fine of $12,000. And this boy is serving no time at all. Okay, so the court ended up agreeing to granting the defendant's motion to certify as a youthful offender. So after taking a plea of no contest as a youthful offender, the state supplied some factual basis to support the nolo contendere plea. Which says, in support of counts 1, 2, and 3, state witness blank would testify that on February the 2nd, 2024, near 229 South No Block in Stillwater, while parked in defendant's pickup truck, defendant forcibly removed her clothing, pinned her down, sat on top of her, touched and bit her breast, and inserted his fingers into her vagina without her consent, as she repeatedly told the defendant no and tried to push him off her. She would further testify that the defendant apologized for what he was about to do, but he had to do it, and was about to put his penis inside her when a pedestrian called out from the street and interrupted him. In support of count 4, state's witness blank would testify that in early February 2024, while parked outside Planet Fitness in Stillwater, defendant exposed his penis and forced blank's head and mouth upon his penis as she cried. In support of count 5, state's witness blank would testify that in early February 2024, she was with the defendant at his home to watch movies when he forcibly removed her clothing, touched her body in intimate areas, and cried for him to stop. Blank would further testify that defendant removed his underwear and told her he wanted to be inside her as he pushed into her groin area. Blank would testify this attempt by defendant was interrupted by defendant's mother asking from outside the room if everything was okay. In support of count 6, state's witness blank would testify she was with defendant in February 2024 in the parking lot of the Hampton Inn where defendant removed her pants and underwear against her will and forcibly placed his fingers inside her vagina, telling her he was not going to stop until he got 3 fingers inside. Blank would testify she later found blood in her vaginal area. In support of count 7, state's witness blank would testify that on or about the 29th day of February 2024 in the parking lot of Walmart, defendant pinned her down inside her vehicle, straddled her, and used his hand upon her neck to strangle her until her vision became blurry and she became dizzy and confused. Blank would further testify that subsequent to this incident, she suffered pain and discomfort in her throat and has had a surgical procedure to address abnormal findings within her neck that are believed to have been exacerbated by the trauma of this event. In support of count 11, state's witness blank would testify that on February the 7th, 2025, while a protective order was in place ordering defendant to avoid contact with blank, defendant voluntarily and intentionally placed himself within 6 feet of blank at a school function and remained there despite the order directing him to avoid such contact. In support of count 8, state's witness blank would testify that on July 27th, 2024, while she sat for another family, defendant became angry with. In support of count 8, state's witness was In support of count 8, state's witness blank would testify that on July 27th, 2024, while she house sat for another family, defendant became angry with her, approached her from behind, placed his arms around her neck, and strangled her to unconsciousness. She would further testify that during this incident, she could not breathe and attempted to get away from defendant's control. In support of count 9, state's witness would testify that during the summer of 2024, she was with defendant at the Stillwater Country Club where he aggressively penetrated her vagina with his fingers against her will as she attempted to hold down her skirt and deny him access to her genital area. Blank would further testify that defendant was so aggressive in his efforts she began to bleed. In support of count 10, a neighbor of blank would testify that in early August 2024, she was looking outside a window of her home and observed defendant forcibly walking blank to a vehicle in the driveway with his arm around her neck, as Blank appeared to be resisting those efforts. Okay, now we're moving on to what looks to be a statement from one of the victims. I never imagined I'd be standing here needing to explain the harm someone did to me or trying to make people understand the damage that has been caused. You didn't just hurt me physically, you took pieces of my safety, my peace, and my sense of who I was. What you did wasn't just violence, it was betrayal, fear, shame, humiliation, and pain layered over and over. And it didn't stop when the assault ended, it followed me every single day afterward. I've had to carry this weight while going to school, trying to act like I'm okay. I've woken up from nightmares that make me feel like I'm being attacked all over again. I've had to explain bruises, explain silence, explain why I started isolating from people who loved me. You didn't just strangle me with your hands, you strangled my voice, my joy, my ability to feel safe in my own body. And even now, months later, I still don't feel safe. Jesse didn't just abuse me, he threatened me over and over again. He told me that if I ever told anyone what he was doing, he would kill me. He would kill my family, he would kill himself, he even threatened to hurt or kill his own family. Do you know what it's like to live with that kind of fear at 17 years old? To walk into your house wondering if today is the day someone follows you home. To be afraid that opening your mouth could cost someone else their life. Those threats silenced me just as much as his hands ever did. I was terrified. Every time I thought about telling someone, I heard his voice in my head reminding me that if I spoke up, he would be there to silence me, and I believed him. Because he had already shown me what he was capable of, he showed me when he forced himself on me while laughing at my tears. He showed me when he put his hands around my neck and squeezed until I passed out in the Walmart parking lot. When I finally did get the courage to speak, I did so knowing I might be putting my family in danger. That's a decision no one should ever have to make. But I had to. And I hope that one day you actually face what you've done. Not just get punished, but really face it. Every time you ignored my no, every time you forced yourself on me, every time you laughed while I cried, I hope you understand how much it haunts me. You tried to make me feel powerless, but I'm taking that power back today. I will not let your violence define who I am. I'm a survivor, not your victim. You didn't destroy me, even though you tried to. But I won't pretend I'm okay. I am still healing. I am still afraid. I still carry these memories in my body and my mind. And while I may learn to live with them, I will never forget what you did. I will never forget marble slab when you pinned me down, touched my body without permission while I begged you to stop. I screamed no over and over, and you ignored it. You ignored it. We'll never forget what it felt like when you pinned me inside your truck and said, "You're not going anywhere until I finish." Like I was just something to be used. I will never forget the way you threatened me when your mother called. You made me lie. I wanted to scream for help and I couldn't because I didn't know what you'd do next. I will never forget the Planet Fitness parking lot and the panic, the way I felt like my body didn't belong to me anymore. I will never forget the night you strangled me unconscious because I said no. That moment changed my life. A medical professional later told me that I was just 30 seconds away from dying. 30 seconds. If you had kept your hands on my neck just a little longer, I wouldn't be standing here today. That wasn't just a scare, it was a near-death experience. You didn't just hurt me, you nearly killed me. And because of that one act of violence, I had to have surgery on my neck. The damage you caused wasn't invisible, and it wasn't temporary. The pain lingered for months, and now the scar is something I'll carry for the rest of my life, a permanent reminder of what you did to me. To Jesse's parents, I don't know what you know. To Jesse's parents, I don't know what you knew. I don't know if you heard me crying through the walls or noticed how your son I don't know if you heard me crying through the walls or noticed how your son treated me when no one was looking, but I hope you hear this now. Your son hurt me in ways that cannot be undone, and I need you to understand that your silence, your protection of him, or even your denial, that would hurt too, because someone should have stopped this. Someone should have seen the bruises and the fear. This statement is not just for the court, it's for Jesse. It's for his family. It's so none of you can pretend you didn't know what he did or how deeply he broke me. And for the people in this room who are deciding his punishment, I need you to remember that what happened to me wasn't only abuse or strangulation, it was nearly attempted murder. So I ask you to hold him accountable to the fullest. 30 more seconds, and this would not be my statement, it would be my mother's, because I would not have survived. I survived what he did, but I will never be the same. What an incredibly powerful statement from one of the victims. Okay, now we have a statement from another victim of Butler. First and foremost, this statement isn't about revenge, it's about responsibility. It's about speaking the truth in a room where it must be heard clearly, fully, and without apology. Jesse is responsible for what he did, and that responsibility doesn't appear. Jesse is responsible for what he did, and that responsibility doesn't disappear because of his age or because facing it is uncomfortable. The truth is still the truth, even when people would rather not acknowledge it. He may barely qualify as a youth offender under the law, but my daughter, who is younger than him, has been more than old enough to live with the full weight of his choices. She did not have the privilege of youth offender as a shield. What Jesse did was not a mistake, it was not immaturity, it was deliberate and it was manipulative. He violated her trust, her boundaries, and her safety. Blanca's had to fight for every step of her healing. She's had to walk through hallways in a school that never truly protected her, surrounded by people who chose silence or convenience over advocacy and support. She has had to deal with anxiety. She has experienced triggers in places that once felt safe. She has spent this year learning how to live with trauma caused by someone else's choices. It has changed the way she will view trust, relationships, and love for the rest of her life. And while she has done this with grace, strength, and determination, we will never mistake that for ease. Every normal moment has been something she's had to fight for. She's never asked for pity. She's never tried to play the victim. What she has survived is something no child should ever have to go through, and what she has lost because of Jesse will never be fully restored. This summer, while other girls planned for senior celebration, she was preparing for surgery. A surgery directly caused by the injury Jesse inflicted. That is not symbolic pain. That is not emotional fallout. That is a medical fact of the physical harm he caused. She is not broken, she is not fragile, she is strong, but the cost of that strength is something most won't see. The missed school days, the sleepless nights, the therapy appointments, the anxiety attacks, the physical pain, the battle to keep showing up while carrying something she never asked for. While she has fought to move forward, there's something we cannot ignore. The silence of Jesse's family. To Jesse's parents, your silence has been deafening. You had every opportunity to lead with truth, to teach your son what it means to take ownership of harm. You had the chance to model responsibility, to support the healing process in even the smallest of ways, but you didn't. You chose to protect your family image over integrity. Your silence sent a message to my daughter that the truth didn't matter as much as appearance, that your son's reputation mattered more than her reality. That is not parenting, that is enabling. This process has not brought our family peace, but it has brought us a new purpose. We will never let our daughter believe that the pain is something to be minimized for someone else's convenience. We will never let her think that silence is strength, or that her voice doesn't matter. Our family does not agree with this plea. We wanted the record to clearly reflect that this plea deal was not made in the best interest of the victims, but the best interest of Jesse. The convenience and leniency granted to him do not erase the harm he caused. My daughter will continue to live with the weight of his choices every single day, and yet the system has offered him considerations she was never granted. What Jesse did matters. What his family failed to do matters. Now it is in the hands of the court to make sure accountability is not avoided. We ask that you hold him fully responsible for his actions, not a slap on the wrist whilst allowing him to avoid facing true accountability, not just counselling, because my daughter, who was the victim, not the perpetrator, has been attending counselling for nearly a year. That is not punishment, not only for the justice my daughter deserves, but to prevent another child from ever enduring what Blank had to survive. Blank is a survivor of someone else's decisions, and we will never stop honouring the strength it's taken for her to rise above it. That wasn't a statement from another victim, it was the statement from what sounds like the mother of the first victim whose statement I read out. These statements have all been very, very powerful, and I don't understand how the judge in this case just seems to have not taken these things into accountability when he gave Jesse the sentence he did. Even the parents, the victims, they're all asking for some sort of accountability which Jesse has to face for his actions, and they're just not giving it to him. Okay, now let's move on to our third victim impact statement. As a father, one of my greatest fears has always been that one of my children would be harmed in some way that I would be unable to protect them. What Jesse has done, both emotionally and physically, to my daughter will never be forgotten. Watching my daughter suffer through this abuse has left me feeling helpless, unable to offer her the reassurance Watching my daughter suffer through this abuse has left me feeling helpless, unable to offer her the reassurance that everything will be okay or that she can easily move forward with her life. My only hope throughout this pain and exhausting process was that Jesse would be held accountable and that the court system would deliver justice. For a long time, that hope gave us strength to endure the emotional toll. But in the past 72 hours, that hope has been shaken. We were told that as the family of the victim, we have no say in what plea deal is accepted. All the time of gathering evidence and reliving the pain were for nothing. That one individual alone decides how Jesse will or will not be punished. The hardest thing that any victim can do is to speak up and decide enough is enough. Blank's hope was that by doing her part in dealing justice, the court system would do the rest. It feels like she is being failed by the very system put in place to punish offenders, that her truth is being discounted as nothing more than boys will be boys mentality. This sends a dangerous message to future victims, that sometimes speaking up and doing the right thing isn't enough. The reality is this: my daughter, Blank, will carry the weight of this trauma for the rest of her life. Jesse, by contrast, may face nothing more than a year of therapy before moving on. No parent could accept such a small consequence for actions that have caused such deep and lasting harm. Without a fitting punishment, this behaviour risks becoming reinforced. This is not just about the trauma he has created, it is about preventing a dangerous pattern from continuing in the future. I respectfully ask the court to consider the lifelong impact on my daughter and to hold Jesse fully accountable for his actions. Only through meaningful consequences can justice be served, and only then can healing truly begin. Okay, now we're moving on to what looks to be the final impact statement. Your Honour, my name is Blank and I am Blank's mother. I'm here today to share how deeply this has impacted my daughter and our entire family. What happened to Blank has changed the course of her life. Before this, she was a joyful, confident and outgoing young woman. She was enjoying high school, friendships and had recently started driving. She had stepped away from a long Blank and we were both enjoying a more relaxed, beautiful chapter of life. Then everything changed. This young man was her first boyfriend. He appeared shortly after Blank, just as we had allowed her to begin dating. He presented himself as a good Christian boy, respectful and polite. She went to his baseball games. He took her to the OSU sporting events. They played golf and pickleball together. He attended church with our family, brought her flowers, and came to our family game night. He said all the right things, not only to Blank, but to us as well. We were all completely blindsided. He was manipulating her and us. What he did to Blank was a complete violation of her trust, her innocence, and her safety. He took advantage of her vulnerability and placed her in situations no child should ever have to endure. His actions were not mistakes, they were deliberate, harmful, and deeply damaging. This past year has been agonizing. Just when we thought we had learned the worst of it, more painful details emerged. Instead of finding comfort in the justice system, we were left disappointed. The plea deal arrangement made by District Attorney Debbie Vincent left our family feeling powerless. She had assured us that she would not allow a plea deal unless he was willing to plead guilty. No contest and guilty doesn't feel the same to the victims. She told us Blank would be involved in shaping the terms of any deal that was made. She told us that the protective order could be extended as part of the plea deal. None of this happened. Instead, a deal was struck before the preliminary hearing, allowing him to be charged as a youthful offender in exchange for a no contest plea and minimal consequences that end in less than a year on his 19th birthday. On that same day, this record will disappear like it never happened. Your Honour, we are heartbroken. It feels as though justice for Blank and the other victim was traded away. This young man is being shielded from real accountability, while the trauma he caused will follow our daughters for the rest of their lives. This is not justice, and it does not protect our children or our community. We are not people who take our concerns to court lightly. We are law-abiding citizens who pay our taxes, raise our children with strong values, and trust in the justice system to protect the innocent. We have never asked anything of this system until now. So today, Your Honour, I am asking you to see Blank not as a case file, but as a real person. A bright, kind, faithful young woman whose life has been forever altered by someone she trusted. Her first boyfriend. I ask you to consider the full weight of this impact as you are making decisions in the case today. Thank you for your time and for considering my words on behalf of my daughter and our family. All of these victim impact statements have been very impactful in my opinion, and I feel like they really make you think about the crime and the fact that Jesse just doesn't seem to be getting held accountable. He's been given a plea deal, which, according to one of the victim impact statements, was one thing that the district attorney told him would not happen. So, yeah, very impactful, very emotional, and I'm sure very difficult for all the families and the victims to go through that and to have to come into court and read all of this out in the hope that their children actually get some justice. Okay, so this is a sentencing according to newsnationnow.com. So he was given a 78-year sentence, which would have amounted to 10 years when served concurrently. However, he was downgraded to youthful offender status, and a deal was made between the prosecution and the defense, which ensured he would serve no jail time and only be sentenced to counseling. Following the decision, there was speculation that the lighter sentence was due to Butler's father, a former football director at Oklahoma State University. Any other state or any other place, if somebody committed all of these crimes, like, I just do not understand how to think that just being let off with a slap on the wrist is okay. Being sentenced to counselling when his victims are already having to go through counselling to get through what he put them through, and then the court is saying that that's a punishment. It really is a slap in the face for these victims, and it's so, so unfair. Another thing that's really bugging me about this is how difficult it is for victims of rape and sexual assault to actually report their crimes. It takes a lot of courage to even call the police or go to a police station to report that you've been a victim of a sexual assault or rape. And then after you've done that, you get put through so many horrendous things just for them to try and get evidence to do forensic examinations on your genitals. If you're a female, sometimes they insert speculums to try and get DNA from like your vaginal cavity or like your vaginal wall. all sorts of things go on, and it's a long process, and it's difficult to heal when you're going through all of this because you're constantly having to relive the trauma that you've been put through. So then if you go through all of that, you would really expect and of course want some justice at the end, some justice that fits the crime, some justice that means that you're not going to bump in to the perpetrator when you're doing your grocery shopping or you're going for a walk or going to the cinema or whatever. You want to see jail time for these types of crimes, and you want to see these people be put on sex offender registers so everybody knows that this person is a dangerous person. And none of that has happened in this case. And it's just I mean, in my opinion, it would make victims not want to come forward. Why would I put myself through all of this just for somebody to be sentenced to counselling? That's obscene. It really is. And it's very, very harmful and sad. And it just gives the impression to other perpetrators that, well, this guy could go around and force young girls to have sex with him or to perform sex acts on him, and he's not being punished, so why can't I? It really just doesn't give a very good impression, and it makes people feel even less safe than they already do. I really hope as well that this story being all over social media and stuff isn't having a negative impact on the victims. And I hope that people who are putting it out on social media are doing it for the right reasons to try and get the Supreme Court or somebody higher up who can actually do something about this, to get them to do what they can do to get this guy to face the punishment he deserves. Because we have to really, at the end of the day, we have to think of the victims. Two young girls who, from their impact statements, one of them was very confident, bubbly, outgoing, was really enjoying school life. And then all of that's been shattered by this one boy who's decided to manipulate and take advantage of somebody. And now her life's changed forever, and it's probably going to take a very long time for her to become the person she used to be, if she ever can become that person again. So, yeah, I really hope that all of the attention this is getting causes somebody with some power to be able to get Jesse Mack Butler put back in court and get him resentenced for these crimes and get some jail time, get him on the sex offenders register, and get justice for these victims. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Injustice with me, Gabby. Take care of yourself, and hopefully you will join me again soon. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.